101.5. Good morning to you. It's great to be alive. Good morning to you. Raypower. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you.
Hello and thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Political Platform on Raypower FM. My name is Amechi Anakwe. It's a Monday morning and a bright one indeed, and we have a number of stories to run through and break down the reports for your understanding and comprehension. The Supreme Court will hear two matters tomorrow: the PDP leadership tussle and the ADC leadership tussle also. The David Mark Group had appealed the ruling, the pronouncement of the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court will be hearing it. That's record for the Supreme Court. Few days after the matter was filed, they are hearing it almost immediately. Something indeed must be behind it. I said something must be behind it. And that's the way to go. That's the way the Supreme Court should respond to issues that have to do with political contestation and interpretation of our constitution. The ADC is still planning to hold its national convention tomorrow in Abuja. And Governor Zulum, Babagana Zulum of Borno State says security forces received intelligence report 3 days before the attack on the brigade that killed the brigadier general, and nothing was done. I was asking on this program that day, we raised the issue. Were there not intel attack here? There were 44 intelligence reports. They refused to act on it. Something must be wrong with our security architecture. Nigerian Armed Forces jet kills over 200 civilians in a market. Initial report says it's a civilian people that were killed. Some other person said, no, it is a market where the terrorists come to trade. The governor of Borno State has said he closed that market 5 years ago, but the Air Force has said they will be investigating. And INEC chairman is in a big hole. Professor Mupita, they say if you're in a big hole, what you do is to find a way to come out, but it appears he's still digging deep into that hole. Let me welcome my colleagues. Adeba Bodur is here. Teve Tiav is there. Uju also join us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Amechi, and greetings to my colleagues in the studio, and greetings to our listeners out there and those watching us on YouTube. Yeah, I feel worried. I feel worried for the fact that the clock is ticking very fast towards the election day, January next year. And if at this time the INEC chairman is in a kind of reputational, that's what I will use, the reputational crisis. And the newspaper, the thing was A columnist in Tribune started it all. He's a journalist. The economist is a journalist, a professor of mass communication in US. He has a column in the Nigeria Tribune, and he was the first to raise this issue. And other newspapers have taken it up. CSOs are calling for resignation. His media aid issue a statement and deny the account, but there is insistence that that account was bearing their name, and they trace it. I think he himself needs to address the issue. It's not just a press statement. When you are calling for resignation of an INEC chairman at this critical stage of moving towards the election, it's a very, very serious issue. If whatever becomes off the election, because he's being accused of partisanship before he was appointed,
okay.
and if he does not clear his name thoroughly, it's not a press statement issue. It's something that he should be able to come out boldly to speak on it. We have seen instances in Nigeria on 2 occasions when chairmen of electoral bodies resigned. The first was in 1964. Ita Iswa, that trade unionist, he was the first chairman of Electoral Commission in Nigeria. And we also remember the case of Professor Emeawa during Ibrahim Babangida era. He said there is irreconcilable differences between me and the president, and I will not remain in office. And he resigned. I'm not asking him that he should resign, but he needs to clear his name. Okay. He needs a clean bill of health before conducting the election.
When you even talk of the one of Emeawa, you find that he resigned on honorable grounds. He said there were reconcilable differences, and of course, since he couldn't work with the president as at that time, he resigned. But this is a totally different case. This is something that is negative in nature. I think that, like you've said, the press statement is not enough in this case. The accusers should come out with their evidence, because the onus of proof is on them, and the onus of proof that he's not guilty as claimed by INEC is on the INEC chairman. You do not play with such a situation, and you do not just issue a press statement and think it is all right. We're talking about the future of over 2 million Nigerians, because whatever
200 million.
It was over 200, I beg your pardon, of over 200 million Nigerians, because whatever comes out of that election is binding on all of us. And for the man who would be the umpire of such an election, he has to be above board. And again, you see, for all of these things to come out, you notice that the current issue, if I may dabble into it, with ADC, also gave rise to this.
It was just the wobbly of the leaf.
Yes, because lawyers have come out with the Constitution, with the Electoral Acts, with everything that says the courts should not dabble into the affairs of political parties. And he being a senior advocate of Nigeria, and
a professor of law.
A professor of law, dabbled into it, let me put it that way.
Okay.
So you see, these kind of things would give rise to what we are seeing, and probably more.
Amechi, good morning to you and the viewer on YouTube. You see, last week we threw up this issue and we advised him, as the INEC chairman, and even the Supreme Court, that look, these 2 institutions, I don't even want to see him as an individual. I'm looking at the INEC as an institution. You know, we need to do much more than what we are seeing, because the issue of confidence in the electoral system is fundamental, is key. And it is what the commission does, what the chairman and what he or she symbolizes, that, will eventually drive the process to a very large extent moving forward. And we must not look at it lightly, calling for his resignation, maybe people are afraid that if they call for his removal, it will not happen because the president can bring up, going by the constitution, if he has reasons, approach the National Assembly, and things like that. But I'm sure they are looking at it's almost an impossible process, to go through. That's why a lot of persons are calling for his resignation and all of that. And I would say, in Nigeria, it's very difficult, this issue of morality, with people having that moral burden to say, okay, because of this, because of that, I will accept a few examples we have seen, and all of that. It's very difficult. So those who have the evidence, beyond pushing them even in public domain, I want to believe that some interested parties, and I want to believe they also have the local standard to approach the court, for instance, with some of those.
What do you think the court can do?
No, if the conditions for the appointment are there, and if you don't fit into those,
to compel the president and the National Assembly to do the needful,
or even as it were,
but it's discretionary. These powers are discretionary to the president,
but if
and the National Assembly.
It's clear now. If, for instance, there are qualifications to be able to get elected, there are qualifications to get appointed. If by virtue of any reason you fail beyond short of those qualifications, automatically you are supposed to,
so someone can go to court seeking order of mandamus to compel them.
Yes, to be unfit, to proceed in that direction. Somebody in the position of as much as possible. It's very difficult to get people who are not politically aligned. But
in real sense
of it. But when there is demonstration of allegiance, demonstration of such partisanship, clearly something that we should look at.
But I think this issue has brought into the fore once again the clamor by the CSOs.
Yes,
that the president must that power to have, is a partisan. He has partisan interest in election. He's contesting election. It's like a football match where a club is the one that will shoot the referee.
Rangers versus Bender Insurance, and chairman of Rangers picks the referee.
And that is why, so it's a matter that we really need. I was surprised that the National Assembly pushed that issue aside. They are not thinking of national interest. They don't have the interest of Nigeria at heart. Our lawmakers don't have the interest. If they have the interest of Nigeria at heart, they will be thinking of the future of Nigeria. That's
the final
not momentary gain for now.
Give the president of the power to appoint INEC chairman.
Yes, but you see, I do not see it happening. Immediately. It will take a long time because the National Assembly we have today, I do not see them having the courage to do that. I do not even see them being willing to do that because they all have partisan interests.
There's no courage in their dictionary. If you give them advanced learners and ask them to look for courage, in fact, you discover that no word with C is in that dictionary.
I'm even talking of a moral question here.
Yes, big moral
I think that
question.
they lack that moral.
Yes. So, yes, let me
just leave it hanging.
Yeah. Let's take you through what happened. Peter, as a lecturer in 2023,
2022.
2022.
Purportedly owned a Twitter account, and in that Twitter account, he was responding to tweets raised by APC members. In one of them, he said,
allegedly said
that one APC member said he guaranteed victory in Lagos, in Igbo-dominated area, and so he was able to spin it and ensure, using his prowess, to ensure that APC means. He responded, victory is assured, or something like that.
Yes.
Then in another one, he hailed Ashiwaju, and in another one, someone talked about obedience and called them unprintable names, and of course, the handle said they are evil in the 21st century. Now, when one thing with the digital space, you leave footprints.
Yes.
Once you're on the digital, it's not, I told my friend, and my friend took I told him to our mutual friend, and when our mutual friend confronts me with what I said, I'll deny. And it will be my friend's words against mine. But in digital space, you leave footprints. And that was perhaps the handicap, the problem of Amopita, because the initial statement from INEC said is a fake account, that he never operated it. Now, those that understand the digital space went to work. They were able to discover that his personal email was linked to it and all that. They also made comments, though not verify that. Even his phone number was linked to it. So if you said it doesn't belong to you, you open this with your email account. Are you just trying to deny facts? Then there were other things that happened. That account was quickly changed to a parody account, and they locked it, making it private. But before then, people had gotten this evidence. Now, people went to AI and digital space and said, who owns this account? And he threw up the fact that it was changed and gave up the point it was changed and all that. So, INEC chairman had denied that he owns the account, but the latest response he should give is that his email is linked to it, and reportedly his phone number is linked to. He has a lot of explanation to give. Like we say in local parlance, Professor Amopita, you go explain tire. Now, another issue is the statement INEC issued. INEC issued that statement 22 hours after a presidential advisor, special advisor to the president on social media, had released the same email, the same statement. INEC made a statement denying that it wasn't true. But they went to the digital space and they saw the footprint. 22 hours after the president SA on social media released the statement, INEC released it. So where is the connection? Is the presidency, INEC and all that? That's why I said it appears the professor is digging when he finds himself in a hole. Let's see how this pans out, and let's see. But he will have explanations.
He has a lot of explanations.
Amechi, we are living in a modern age. These are not the age we were living before. There are certain things you do you thought is forgotten. Somebody told me I sent a WhatsApp message to him 4 years ago, and I said I can't remember. Then within 17 minutes, he sent the message back to me.
Yes.
From the space.
Yes.
And not only that message, the entire WhatsApp messages I sent throughout that year. So there are things that you do that cannot be easily be erased. So like I have said, Amopita has a duty to speak out to himself, not through a press secretary. Not through a press secretary. He must work hard to get a clear head for us to trust that he can conduct credible, fair, and free election in January next year.
And you see, nothing stops stops him. For instance, if what happened was true, nothing stops you from owning up to it.
But the move to deny didn't help matters.
It doesn't help matters. Like I said, that's why I started by saying it's very difficult in Nigeria, even if somebody is not registered. Even those of us in the studio here, a few of even the interns and all of that, if you ask them, they in one way or the other may have sympathy for one party or one candidate. It's just human. It's just human.
Okay.
So it's difficult to take that away from
Tebe, let's look at it this way. You said he may own up and then apologize, but in this case, I say no. Apology would not do. If he owns up, if it is proved that he actually did it, then he has to excuse the Nigerian space.
Yes.
Because that position is too sensitive.
You know what?
There is no way, because you see, those tweets you talked about, the one about the election in Lagos, and it shows the mindset of whoever made that tweet. It shows the mindset, and that mindset is black. It is not pure towards the Nigerian people.
Those that have excused themselves under President Bola Tinubu always say pressing family issues. I have to go and attend to them. So does Professor Amopita have health issues? Does he have pressing urgent issues? These issues, the two of them are knocking at his door.
Let's just pray that the system would allow the right thing to be done.
Absolutely, because we said last week on this program that it's not about INEC being independent. Is INEC perceived to be independent? So the question is now whether he's impartial or not. It's perception, and since that perception is tainted. The honorable thing to do is what would you told him? Those two things knocking at his door, he should answer the door. He should answer the door. And for the presidency, within the circles, I've been in government circles, they will say, no, let's hold on. Let's see how the public will react. The tent will get to the president and get to the APC. So for the APC and the president to save themselves, this man they have to distance themselves from this man so that he carries his cross alone.
And you must understand the elections, like I keep saying, it's a matter of a global mandate or a community thing. You don't sit in your country and just think you do election. People come to monitor, people talk about it and all of that. Before you know it, this same issue, you will see election observers, you see the EU, you see a lot of persons, pressing, pushing forward, making statements and all of that. And those can be very damaging. By the time they tell you that, the what's it called now? The credibility of your forthcoming election, the public confidence in your election is compromised. By the time that those statements start coming, it's damaging. It's complete. Even if you have 90% or 100% of the vote, it shows that mandate is either is stolen or that mandate cannot be justified.
Okay, let's bring in mails now. We'll have some mails. When we come back, 200 of our citizens killed. Are they terrorists? Are they innocent citizens? And what's cooking in the Supreme Court? Stay with us.
Many thanks for joining us this morning. Welcome to the mail segment on Political Platform. My name is Fumilayo Emopai, and our is coming from Shegun from Okearo, Ogun State. He says it is now crystal clear that these politicians don't care what the people say to them or the number of courses they altered. They show off publicly with their disgusting attitudes, with concubines and lavish lifestyles. They knew that police, army, and judiciary were in their pockets to deal with even them. Now to my fellow brothers and sisters inside the country and outside the country, I have come up with a suggestion which you all can agree with me. And the suggestion is to join the political parties being used. Let us adopt their strategy of bringing their sons and daughters to the political platform so that their children as well won't be heading affairs after their parents leave the office. Let us all vie for that seat as majority carry the vote in selecting candidates, or they risk the chance of losing if they try to impose themselves on the party members, as youth won't keep quiet for their tricks or risk chance on losing when the party members join other party that accept equality in politics to win the seats available. God bless Nigeria. And Kola Wale from New York is also saying, their political platform crew, your program on Friday, April 10th, 2026 was a very engaging and thought-provoking one. As always, the depth of discussion and the passion with which national issues are examined continue to make the platform a valuable space for public discourse. However, in the interest of maintaining the analytical strength and credibility that your program is known for, a few claims made during the discussion would benefit from clarification and correction. First, while it is understandable to critique the limitations of macroeconomic indicators such as GDP and inflation, it is not entirely accurate to dismiss them as irrelevant. These indicators remain essential tools for understanding the broader health of an economy. The real challenge in Nigeria is not that these metrics are useless, but that improvements at the macro level have not translated into meaningful improvements in the lives of ordinary citizens. Second, the claim that no country has ever benefited from policies such as subsidy reform, exchange rate adjustment, or wide structural reform is too sweeping and simply incorrect. Indonesia's fuel subsidy reforms are widely cited as a meaningful success when paired with cash transfers and better targeting. India's LPG subsidy reform reduced leakage and improved delivery through direct benefits transfer. And Egypt, despite real social pain, has recently recorded clearer macroeconomic stabilization and recovery under a reform program. This brings to us a deeper issue that perhaps deserves more emphasis. The failure of these policies in Nigeria is not solely because the policies themselves are inherently flawed or unsuitable. It is also significantly influenced by the environment in which they are implemented. Furthermore, while government policies are often the focus of criticism, it is important to recognize that the bulk of responsibility for alleviating poverty lies much closer to the people at the state level. Basic elements that directly shape daily life, schools, primary health care, local roads, infrastructure, and agricultural support fall largely within the domain of state governments. Ultimately, while it is necessary to hold leadership accountable, it would be incomplete to assume that simply chasing away the government will solve Nigeria's problem without addressing the roles played by institutions, subnational governance, and even societal responses to policy changes. The cycle of reform and disappointment will continue. And Amechi Obochi from Kubwa is writing this, and it says the Supreme Council for Sharia and Islamic Affairs of Nigeria last week directed that all Friday sermons in mosque should advocate for the removal of INEC chairman Prof. Amupiton, while also clearing that it will not recognize any election conducted under his leadership. This is quite surprising development. One may ask what such a council plays in determining the legitimacy of elections overseen by INEC or its chairman. It is particularly striking that, despite ongoing concerns about radicalism and extremism, the council has not previously used Friday sermons to address these issues, yet is now focused on the 2027 general elections. Moving forward, it is important to remember that Nigeria governed by its institution, not by sentiment. Nigeria is governed, I beg your pardon, Nigeria is governed by its constitution, not by the sentiments of individuals or groups. Prof. Amupiton's appointment is constitutionally backed and remains valid unless altered by the appropriate legal authority, including President Bola Tinubu. Indeed, that's the much we can take this morning on the mail segment. Keep sending your mails with your name and location to politicalplatform@dargroup.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the mail. Abiodo Badejo says, but Peter was not the INEC chairman when he tweeted that post. Why is people generating this noise? Mikayo says, Amopita is not coming to the table with clean hands, and it will be a dangerous thing to allow such individual conduct an election. Amopita is from my place, but Nigeria's future is more important. Solomon and Netu Uju have missed your golden voice and your great input to the program. A lot of people saying Amopita's phone number is also attached to the email, and people indeed have been able to confirm that. What we hear is that Nigerians are sending money into his OPay account, because they also tracked that number that is linked to OPay. They're sending small money. I saw on social media one sent 50 naira and say transport fare as you leave INEC and all that.
Oh my God.
So let's see how it pans out. But I hope, the final analysis, I hope is that we change our constitution to strip the president of powers. It may not be immediate, but it should be a midterm objective. It's not everybody that is a Jonathan that will appoint someone, even with warnings that look at what will happen and it will go ahead. 200 killed in a marketplace. Are they innocent citizens or are they terrorists?
For me, Amishi, I think what bothers me most is the place of intelligence gathering. When you gather intelligence and you don't make use of it, then you are now telling us we have information 3 days before the attack that led to the death of a general. It bothers me. Are those intelligence that have been released, are they meant to be kept inside a refrigerator so that it will
For it to cool down.
for it to cool down? I think it's something that it should be promptly be acted upon.
This is not the first time.
It's not the first time.
There were reports, even the kidnapping in Kebbi.
Kebbi.
There were intelligence.
Even Kuje attack,
And they were just looking at-
Kuje prison attack, they said they were
44.
intelligence report. So how do we just ignore some of those things? I think we need a serious rethink within our security architecture to think of what to do with this report.
Amechi, what shocked me the most is that people in the front line fighting insurgency, they don't have adequate facilities, maybe weapons, and then the armored car is not functional. The vehicles they're supposed to use.
Though they have denied that, they say it was functional, but it was demobilizing because
but it is soldiers who
fight.
were him that confirmed that it was not functional. Look, either way you look at it, some things just don't add up. And it is very, very demoralizing, discouraging to think that those in authority would allow things to degenerate to that extent. It is very, very sad. I keep saying it on this platform, and I have evidence of sending money to some of the soldiers fighting in Katsina and in Borno, sending my own personal money for them to buy Indomie and eat.
Okay.
And I have proof. My bank account is also there.
But the military have always said, we are taking care of them, we are paying them their salaries, and we are paying them their allowances. Perhaps what you're doing is to supplement, and we are free to supplement. TV.
You see, a lot of things give room for concerns and questions. And even last week when we were discussing this, we called for, we said it should not just be another condolence and then all of that. The president should take a deeper look at it. And with this evidence or what the governor has said and all of what we have seen, then clearly, something needs, to be looked at. I'm happy the Air Force also said they will investigate what happened.
That's the bombing of
the bombing,
the market,
and all of that. The governor, the same Borno governor, said that market was closed 5 years ago.
Because insurgents using it to buy logistics.
The other chief of army staff, Buratai, has also said, look, that place has been a logistic hub for ISWAP, Boko Haram, and all of that, and so it's an issue of concern. But the truth of the matter, from what we have seen and what we have heard, there appears to be, that there are collateral damage, casualty. What is the state policy on issues like this? When it happens, what should be the state policy, moving forward, so that those families, because you need to understand, these are people. You may close down the market, you may obviously it's an ungoverned space. You may close down the market, but the people who are there have not been evacuated. That is their ancestral home. They can't go to anywhere. There are those who are also suggesting, there is a community collaboration with terrorism, but that is their village. They can't go to anywhere. The most they can do is they have to pay taxes.
I think we have to
live. So something needs to. We
Some
need to
deep investigation, thorough should be. Okay, we don't have time to go to the Supreme Court, but we said the Supreme Court decided to hear the ADC matter. Is the haste they should have used to hear the matter of the local government and the state versus federal government who collects VAT. It's been there for more than 3 years now. The Supreme Court has ignored it. It took the Supreme Court how long to determine the issue of the state of emergency in Rivers? There are so many cases that are constitutional in nature that they should respond to this way. Whatever that made them to respond to this way should make them to respond to all cases that border on constitutionalism, that the Supreme Court must take a decision to provide clarity and judicial interpretation.
And it must be justice for Nigeria.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good time.